It is another beautiful day in our country and on earth, and it is another day of Dose of Did You Know with your host, Danny Rocco, where inspiring, intriguing, unique individuals come to talk love and life and how it has gotten them to where they are today. And with me is the beautiful, adventurous, you never know where she's going to be, Miss Jen. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic and better now. Jen and I were just talking about she just came back from this fun adventure
hmm
all over the country. And we're talking about all the scenes that your husband saw, and most Americans don't get to see uh, the lushness that we offer here in America.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much diversity in just like the landscape, and so it's really cool. And like I was telling you, my husband is from Europe, so the road trip thing is not was his first thing here in the U.S. to do that first time. So really interesting to see it through that perspective, also.
That's kind of cool, actually. When we were talking, I never thought about that. I appreciate it no matter how many times I see it, but then to see it through the eyes of someone who's never experienced something like that, that
hmm
takes it to a new level. That's very cool.
It really was different. It was like you just saw it completely different, and I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought about that, and never saw it that way, and yeah, it was
Yeah,
cool.
super, super cool. But before we continue on, tell the world a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I was born without legs and left in a hospital, put up for adoption, and was in a foster home for about 3 months. And my parents, from the middle of nowhere in Illinois, southern Illinois, they adopted me when I was 3 months, actually. They got me when I was 3 months and then officially adopted me later on. And their story, just basically the story from the beginning with my parents about adoption and how they came to get me, they really was against all odds. They had never adopted, never fostered. They had three boys that were 10, 12, 14, no experience. They were 40, 42, which now is totally normal, but not
Yeah,
back then. It was like, it wasn't the whole 40 is the new 30 thing like now.
yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, it just, they had all these things working against them. And this was really a miracle that they got me. My mom was praying and believing and wanting a baby girl for 10 years. And she had three boys and couldn't have kids anymore. So it was
Wow.
just like, you know what I mean? Like really
Yeah.
amazing. And one day she heard about this baby girl born with no legs, put up for adoption. And it was like, boom, a light bulb just went off. And she's like, that's who I want. Never
Oh,
even seeing a picture or anything. So wild.
you gave me chills just on that because I feel, God works in the most mysterious ways, and there
Yeah.
are no mistakes, and
None.
you don't really know and why. So, like for 10 years, it just wasn't right, and then all of
Yep.
a sudden, it just like I feel like it just like fell on her heart, like whoop,
Yep.
that was it.
Really, yeah. Really, because she never even had seen a picture of me. And that blows my mind. Like, they already started down the rabbit hole of the process, actually, the whole entire process, because they thought they had seen, the social workers had
Yeah.
thought they had seen the picture, my parents, and they never had. They never saw a picture of me until the day they got me, saw me in person.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty powerful. That's like the ultimate blind date.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
So here they have you're in this home that is obviously like the home you're supposed to be, the family, the environment, the love,
Yeah.
and then what goes from there? And did your brothers, I have to go because I read, we were talking about your book. Did your
Yes.
brothers actually have a say in what your name was going to be?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. My as a like present, or yeah, just kind of like something exciting for them. My parents let them choose my name, and so they were like sitting around the circle as teenage boys,
Yeah.
like, what about this name? And they're like, no, I know her, and I don't like her. We can't name her that. And what about that name? And like just totally funny like that. And yeah, they named me exactly. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank goodness. Guys, you did a good job.
Yes,
And you
I
must
was
not have known.
grateful.
Okay. And Jennifer's a pretty common name. So I'm surprised like that didn't pop up in that I know
I
somebody.
know. I know. I'm like, what just were all the were all the Jennifers like super cool that you knew or something? But I was happy. Could
Yes,
have been worse. Could have been worse.
right.
So, yes.
So you're on this path, you have this life, and I have got to say, just from hearing your story, guys, if you don't know the story, I actually will put the link in there because I just realized I didn't put I did put the link in there. Blonde moment here talking. Grab the book. It's on audio for all you Audible people out there. And Jen reads it, which gives it a little more oomph. But you are a fighter. You are kind of a driven, I don't know if fighter is the word I would put, but in my mind, but driven. Like you
Thank
have
you.
passion. That is how I would describe you.
Thank
Were
you.
you like that from just a baby? Could your parents see that, that passion inside you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was kind of always just like me, like always interested in everything and involved and like little social butterfly, little nosy, and always like strong. And I think I was naturally kind of passionate, strong-willed, driven, like you said. And then because of my family, I think they just allowed that to really blossom, and they really were encouraging and spoke life into me rather than speaking death into me. And what I mean by that is that when I came to them and said, I want to play all these sports, softball, basketball, volleyball, and they were all against able-bodied athletes. It wasn't like a Paralympic sport in Southern Illinois, you know what I mean, in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. Yeah, no. And so it was just normal sports, no prosthetics, no wheelchair, nothing. I was just always an athlete. I liked that. And they just let me do all of it. And not only let me do it, but like super encouraged me and just let it, if you really want to do it, then you'll figure it out and you'll make it work. Like it wasn't like a lot of excuses or anything like that, and I'm thankful for that. And so I think I was naturally like that. And then it was fostered and developed in the family I grew up in.
So when you're going, because this is such an inspirational story of just the fact of figure it out. Like you can do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
in, we all have that in us.
Yep.
You just have to have the will to keep figuring it out. Were there moments, do you remember any thoughts that as you're going through learning a new sport, any struggles or, something that you can give to the people listening that, this is what I thought, but this is how I figured it out. Like almost the steps.
Yeah, in each sport, I had to do some things a little differently, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's like I think that's just it's just so relevant for everyone because
Mhm.
the thing is, we all have obstacles, right? That's what unites. That's the one thing that everybody in the world can have in common is struggle. And
Yeah.
nobody gets a free pass from that one. So,
No.
so that it's just how we go through it, right? So in volleyball, obviously, I'm not like the star on the net blocking the ball, right? Like obviously that's not happening. So, but I was strong in the back when the ball drops low because I was really already short and very fast. So I was, you know
Mm.
what I mean? So my point is, I had to do things a little differently or figure them out in each sport. But that's the difference between, you know, thinking that it's possible and actually moving, or looking at the mountain and being paralyzed and never moving or running away from it,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Hmm.
like looking at the mountain and saying, okay, I know somehow I can get over it, around it, or through it, right? But I think that's where we win or lose the battle,
Hmm.
right? It's just
Yeah.
believing that you can somehow get over there. And that's how it was with the sports. And that was really how, like, everything is possible, the name of my book and all this stuff. It's all tied together. It's everything is possible for the one who believes. Keyword believe, right?
Hmm.
So it's not just a saying, it's a way of living if you really believe that, right? And it's connected to everything.
It truly is. And when I'm listening to you and you're talking about figuring it out, I love that you can laugh and accept and embrace, because I think this is where some of us fall short of our natural faults. Like you're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to be great at the net. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right. But when we can accept what we're not great at, then we're able to open up and fill the gaps of what we are capable
Yeah,
of.
totally.
But I feel like we kind of maybe our egos take over, or we don't really believe, don't have that faith. And if we speak our weakness, then somehow like the gig's up, you know,
Mhm.
we
I think it's
can't,
so
we can't,
freeing though.
it really is. It
I
really,
think it's freeing, and I think then you grow even more, and you start to strengthen that weakness area by not giving it power. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Oh, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. By not giving it power, that is good. So you go through this, you're going through life, you're trying all of these new things, and um, you kind of find your passion or is it your
Yeah.
niche to become your passion? What would you call it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was just so I loved all the sports but power tumbling. So I loved watching gymnastics on TV and power tumbling. I grew up, like I said, in kind of the middle of nowhere. So we
Yeah.
didn't have like full blown gymnastics, and we had what was called power tumbling. So power tumbling is the in gymnastics, you have the floor, the big square floor where they're flipping and twisting and all that. So power tumbling is a long runway kind of floor, and where you flip and twist and do all that, but no other event, no bars, no beam, no vault. And so that was really, really popular in the Midwest when I was growing up. And I mean, I guess outside the US also, like Virginia also, and kind of extended out there. And so I told my mom I wanted to sign up for classes. And so instead of course, she didn't say no. She didn't say, how are you going to do that? But you don't have legs. But, it was just like, okay, period. And she goes to the coach. And again, the coach, she could have been like, I'm not going to coach somebody with no legs. What do you mean? This is tumbling. Why don't, you know what I mean? Why
Yeah.
doesn't she go play the piano or something? Right. So, um, she didn't say that. She just said, I've never coached somebody with no legs, obviously, and I can't make you any promises, but I'll try. And I'm like, that's all you can ask from someone, right? Like, I think that's so awesome. I still have so much respect for her, like to this day, because she allowed me the opportunity to try. But
Mm-hmm.
that's really all you can do, right? And then I was thriving, and then they saw that I had like raw talent, and one thing led to another, and then they asked me to be on the competitive team, which is like every girl's, little dream when you're
Yes.
competing, right? Or when you're just taking classes, is to get to the competition. You have the matching leotards and the little jackets and the little, all that. And so I started competing. I was on a team. And then, and I was the first person to ever compete like this with no legs. Obviously it was like not common. Like, and by
Yeah.
not common, I
Yeah.
mean
You're
never happened.
breaking new boundaries here.
Yeah. But you see, at the time, because I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, like in that range, I was for 4 years. I wasn't like, oh, I'm breaking barriers. This is a story. No, I was just doing a sport that I loved.
Right.
And it just happened to catch a lot of media attention, which I never understood. I'm like, why is everybody making such a big deal about me doing this, but my friends are doing the same? They're like, I didn't get it because I
Yeah.
wasn't treated differently, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So I went
Mm-hmm.
on to win a state championship in my division, went to Junior Olympics, and made like fourth all around in my division, which that's the whole United States. Pretty big deal.
Yeah, you're
Um,
talking my language. This is my world for 24 years, the gymnastics world. So I get it
oh,
perfectly. Yeah.
okay, cool, yeah. So it was just that kind of springboarded into my adult life as performing professionally as an acrobat and an aerialist. And an aerialist is with the silk fabric, like Cirque du Soleil, that you see hanging from the ceiling and stuff. So
But you've done some pretty cool stuff. Right off the bat, hot air balloons come to my mind, which I don't even want to sit in a hot air balloon,
yeah,
let alone be dangling from silk straps. What was that like, and how
yeah.
do you not pee yourself?
Yeah, right. That was probably one of my most epic performances. My first and only time so far that I performed on a hot air balloon. I was in Qatar in the Middle East, and it was for the International Paralympic Championship, so the opening ceremony. So everybody from all over the world was there. The sheikh was there, and it was this outdoor, like epic arena, almost like a Roman outdoor situation, but
Yeah.
different. And there was a hot air, so they wanted me to perform and do my aerial stuff, but you there was no ceiling for a fixed point, and even to use freestanding aerial rig would have gotten in the way because there was a whole dance crew there too with all their choreography, like 30 dancers.
Mm-hmm.
So they come up with this hot air balloon that this guy had created. And where the basket normally is, that's where my silks were. So the balloon was above me, my silks were below the balloon, and it was like a 3-man crew that was attached with rope and harnesses, and they walked it out. And they moved away when it needed to come down and moved forward when it needed to go up. It was a completely different, I had never seen something like that before in my life.
Oh, wow.
It was truly epic. Like, oh my gosh, super epic. And they had the creative artistic director had done it to where everybody, all the dancers formed each continent, and each continent had a color. And they were telling me about my costume when I first went, and they're like, yeah, and your skirt has every color all the way around it. And I'm like, that's going to be super ugly. Why would you do that? And I'm just thinking like, okay. And then I said, oh, so why is that? What's, because I could tell there was something behind it. And they said, oh, it's because when you go up in the air, you unite the world. And I was like, I was so flattered, like, oh my gosh, like totally changed, Yeah. Like, it was so, I don't know. It was like so deep when he said that. And they put so much thought into it, and they had already been there rehearsing for 2.5 weeks before I even flew there. And it was just like, so, such an honor,
So did you have time beforehand? Because this is fascinating to me. Like, you're in this hot air balloon. Did you get to practice it, or are they like?
Yeah, I had like I think I had one rehearsal because I had to,
they gave me in a hot air balloon that's never been done before.
Right.
As you're uniting the world.
As I'm uniting, why not? Of course, right? No big deal.
You got it, Jen.
Right. I'm like, okay, you just kind of got to figure it out and do it, even if you're terrified momentarily. Yeah. So it was like, there was moments where you had to get used to, like when the wind blew, you just might go down 3 or 4 feet, and and when I'm hanging by my neck, it's kind of interesting,
Yeah, I get scared in an airplane when it does the little like, I'm looking around. Okay, no one else is freaking out, so I'm good. I could never imagine being like, a drop or the wind swaying or, that goes about your passion and your faith, because you must have just knew that everything was going to work out. Like, talk about walking in your faith of what you're supposed to do.
I think just in general, my faith in God, my faith in Jesus was the foundation, is the foundation. So was in the beginning, like just through my family and kind of them like saying, this isn't an accident that you didn't have legs. This is on purpose. There's no just like, oops, I forgot her legs. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like that. And so they really believe that, it's different than just like saying something and then you see people's actions that they don't really believe it, right? But that's what made it so powerful, is that my parents said these things and then they backed them up, and I saw them, you know what I mean, with action. I saw that they believed that. And so that was like, oh, they really believe that I was born like that for a reason and that there's purpose. And then it was like when I said, I want to go play all the sports, I want to do all the things, right?
Yeah.
Again, they didn't come at me with, well, maybe it's too dangerous, maybe you're too small, I don't know how you're going to do it, you don't have legs, all this. That's speaking death into a child, especially a child. It's so discouraging, you know what I mean? And so it really but the faith was the backbone, because knowing that God had, I believe God created me. I believe that it was for a reason. I believe that then there is purpose in it. So that means that there's purpose, and he will work through not having legs. So, and not only did I believe that, but I have seen that now. I have experienced that. I have really experienced that my whole life. And if I didn't have legs, I wouldn't have the platform that I have. How wild is that, right? Isn't that crazy?
It really is, when you like reverse engineer it, right? Reverse engineer how you got to where you are. It started with, but it's a thought, it's a word, it's an action. It's a thought, it's a word, it's an action. Just like rinse and repeat all through your life. And it's like solidifies, it's stone, it's the foundation. And then when all this doubt and fear, you have such a strong base, nobody's going to break it.
Right.
Exactly. I'm sure we're human. I mean, we are human, but, and there, we're not perfect all the time,
No,
but that
not at
base
all.
is so strong, nothing else can stick. It might flow through and out, but that can't stick. Is that right? That's how I feel when I'm listening to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why it's the foundation. So of course I'm not perfect, or I have bad days or things like that, of course. But the foundation is the constant, is the consistent. It's the strength. Yeah.
Yeah. And before, because time is running out, I just want to tell everybody it's a kind of a fun fact. So you loved gymnastics. That's how,
Hmm.
like, as a child, you would watch it and you kind of have a fun fact around your family history about it. I
Yeah.
think this is the fun
Yes.
fact of Jen.
Yes, yes. So right before I turned 16, so when I was younger, first of all, I watched gymnastics, like I said, on TV, and one of my favorite gymnasts was Dominic Moceanu, and I knew she was Romanian, but she was in Team USA, and I knew that my biological family, through the adoption, I knew that I was Romanian in my blood, and so I always had this little connection to her, and I thought we looked alike. And then right before I turned 16, long story short, I found out that she was my biological sister. So that's pretty wild. Yep.
Yeah. That, again, there are no mistakes. And I get chills so many times when I'm listening either to your book or now talking to you of just the power of, wow, there really, God makes no mistakes.
Yep. Really.
Super, super, super cool.
Really. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very
Uh,
much. Yeah.
yeah, you are so welcome. So what is coming up new? Where can people find you? Or I know it's on your website. They can check you out, grab your book, which again, it's on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
I will get the book next time I see you so you can sign it because I'm a big believer
Yes.
in that hard copy. It just puts I just keep that earlier. I'm
Yes.
but what's happening in your world?
Yeah. Well, so I'm married now, and we have been traveling all over the world. I just lived in Austria for about 1 year. Just got back about a little over a month ago, month and a half ago in the U.S. Now we're living here. He has his green card. He can live and work here officially, and we speak together, perform together. So he plays trombone professionally. I do my aerial stuff. We speak together, and we're just kind of traveling around and doing that right now. Well, that's what we would be doing if the world was normal.
Right.
We're still doing it little bits here and there of like via live stream and things.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm basically for the day to day following Instagram. I'm like always on Instagram posting and this and that. And yeah, that's pretty easy. And in the future, I want more books. In the future, a film about my life, things like that. In the future, kids.
Yep.
So down the road.
Well, the future is open, and I know that abundance will come. Whatever that abundance looks like for you, you
Hmm.
have the passion, the heart. So it will all happen. There's so many people out there watching that I totally ignored while we were talking. So sorry, Todd's watching. Uh, Randy, Steve, an amazing story. So uh, you really are an inspiration. Thank you for taking the time to share your heart and your soul and your passion. And someone's making a shake. I can hear it in the
It's the construction next door.
oh,
Perfect timing. So
section.
now it's
But
starting
before we
as
let
we're leaving.
you go, I have one last question that I ask everybody, and I ask that you answer from the
Mhm.
first thing that comes to your heart. In this moment right now, Jen, what does love mean to you?
Love, I think, means commitment and consistency.
Mm,
Yeah.
perfect. Yep, that goes right along with everything that you just said and your whole life story. So thank you. And to everybody else out there that is joining us today, remember to love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, we will see you. Take care.
See you later. Bye bye.